This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. During tax season, your personal info travels to a lot of places. Between payroll, your tax consultant, and the IRS. If your W-2 gets exposed, that's just the ticket for identity thieves. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it guaranteed or your money back. Don't let identity thieves take you for a ride. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
Life is made up of many gorgeous moments. Cherish them all, big and small, with Blue Nile. Whether it's for yourself or a loved one, Blue Nile's unrivaled selection of expertly crafted fine jewelry and statement pieces help make all your moments sparkle. Blue Nile's experts are on hand to guide you, and their diamond guarantee ensures you get the highest quality at the best price. Celebrate a life well lived in the most radiant way and save up to 30% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
All of the phones are out, and it will be a gold medal for the host nation.
He's up to silver medal. He's gone, and Great Britain have won the gold medal in the boulder and lead. Toby Roberts, the 19-year-old from Surrey, with 155 points, has won gold for Great Britain.
And the young man from Lewisham is going to take the gold medal here. It's going to be an individual gold medal for Alex Yee and Team GB.
This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast, covering the games all the time, rather than once every 4 years. I'm John.
And I'm Michael, and our countdown to Milano Cortina, the Winter Games, continues. We're now just a year away from the Winter Paralympics.
We'll hear from a Brit who went to Beijing in 22, but will be watching this time.
And I catch up with, I don't want to say this, I don't want to call them this, but I'm going to have to, the new Torvill and Dean. Will they ever get tired of hearing that? We'll find out shortly. British ice skating medal hopes Lilah and Lewis on the podcast.
But we love it. I mean, they're icons, they're legends in Great Britain and have such a legacy in the sport.
Michael Weddock's Winter Wonders.
And Michael's special news from the games is also coming up. If you want to get in touch, you can see what we do anytime, Anything But Footy on social media, and check out the website anythingbutfooty.com. Now, the Paralympics to come, but first there's real hopes of a first Olympic medal in ice skating for Great Britain since you know who. Michael just mentioned them. Lilah Fear and Lewis Gibson are heading into the World Championships later this month in Boston, having finished fourth last year, having won another medal at the Europeans earlier this year. Well, next January, the European Championships also come to Sheffield, the first time in 10 years that they have been staged here. Michael's been catching up with Lilah and Lewis with a year to go to Milano Cortina.
It's incredible. It's also wild that it's down to 1 year now. It felt like forever away for the longest time. And I think that we're both very excited and very sort of not to step over the end of this season, but also like eager to get going for that last push of the quad.
And Lilah, with a year to go, does that make it all feel very real to you? Can you remember where you were this time in the Beijing cycle, for example?
I think with the Beijing cycle, it was, the first time of pursuing the Olympic dream for us and really it becoming a reality. And I think we always try to stay present. So we take it season by season. And then the fact that already it's Olympic season next year, it feels close, but also far, like a great amount of time to make a lot of strides in our sport and in our art, but then also close enough that we don't have to wait so long either, because that's always a tough wait.
And Lewis, it's fairly neat that we are heading back to Italy for the Olympic Games, because I read it was very much Torino 2006, which got you into the sport.
Yeah, actually, thank you for reminding me of that. It's very true. I remember recording all of the Olympic figure skating. I had just sort of started around that time in January 2006, and then seeing it on the TV and just hitting play and watching like hours of it was a definite like fond memory and like the beginning of my skating. So it'll be cool to have my own Olympic Italian memories.
And Lilah, let's talk. You said season by season. Let's talk about this season. I mean, it's not over yet. We have the World Championship still to come, but reflect on some of those global results, and obviously most recently the medal at the European Championships, another medal at the European Championships for you.
Yeah, it's been an incredibly exciting and fulfilling season for us with so many milestone accomplishments, like winning 2 Grand Prix, which is something that we didn't really expect coming into the season. And we were so over the moon to achieve. A lot of lessons along the way, overcoming setbacks in terms of some injuries and just the normal things that athletes deal with self-doubt and hard work and ambitious goals. So it's been an all-encompassing season, and we're so proud of our results, but also who we've become as athletes this year. And I think that it set us up for a lot of success in the Olympic season and in the World Championships that are coming up next.
Lewis, from what I've seen of the pair of you, and just building on what Lilah says there, it does seem to have been a season of maturing, because obviously we have the technical aspect of your sport, but then we have the performance aspect of your sport as well. And it all does seem to have really come together for you guys.
We're really focused on that this season, and the music that we chose, and really like the avenue that we went after, and just I like that you're using that word maturity, because it really feels like that. And even just as athletes, like learning to step up and accept wins in different scenarios, and really like pursuing our sport to the highest sort of point that we can at every competition. So it's been really great for that this year.
And I don't speak to many Olympians and Olympic athletes, and they thank potentially Beyonce in their thank you messages in the interviews they give afterwards. But I imagine that you two, it's been integral, hasn't it? The Beyonce music and everything that's gone with that this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just such a joy to skate to her music. And it's something that it's been on our list probably since the start when we first teamed up. So the fact that we finally reached, I'd say, that maturity, like you said, and also that empowerment to pursue such a theme and such a message and embody it in our skating and connect with the audience in that way of just unapologetic expression of who we are, dancing, joy, fun, a little bit of sass, which is always healthy. It's been such a fun program for us and an amazing soundtrack to skate to, and something that we could listen to over and over and over again, which we do, and I'm glad to.
Well, it's been fun for us to watch as well. World Championships on the horizon for us before the end of this season. A 4th place finish at the World Championships, Lewis, but you must go there full of confidence and full of the feeling that this perhaps could be the World Championships where you could deliver that global medal.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have our eyes set on a medal at this World Championships, and I think both of us are just extremely excited by the chance to compete again in America. We haven't had that opportunity a lot in our career, and of course getting to Beyonce in the TD Garden, a massive arena, is going to feel electrifying.
Like a concert.
I know it's going to be. So I'm honestly so excited for that moment. And they held a competition in 2016 as well, the World Championships there, and everyone had rave reviews about it. So I think we're both ready for that.
A question for both of you. I don't imagine you've ever done an interview where the interviewer hasn't talked about Torvill and Dean to you, so I wouldn't want to disappoint you by being the first.
Yeah, thank you. I'd be really disappointed.
Do you embrace those comparisons, or I can't see you at the moment? Have you just looked at each other and rolled your eyes at the fact that you have to address it again?
No, there's no eye rolls in this car, that's for sure. It's funny because whenever we're asked about this, there's the preface of, I'm sorry to be another interviewer that says it like you just did, but we love it. I mean, they're icons, they're legends in Great Britain, and have such a legacy in the sport and have had such an impact on the nation through their performance, their creativity, their example and inspiration. So to even be in that, conversation is such a delight and honor for us. We also know them as humans. We've had amazing conversations with them. They've always been incredibly encouraging and supportive of our career, and they believe in us so much. And that's just been a relationship that we really are so grateful to have. And we have absolutely loved being inspired by them and our craft and in our pursuit of creativity in what we do. And we owe that to them.
I will never apologize when I ask you about them again one day, maybe in the future.
Yeah,
but
don't
Lewis,
you dare.
what would it mean to you and to Lilah to be on an Olympic podium, treading those boards, if you like, going on that ice where the likes of John Curry and Robin Cousins and Torvill and Dean have been before?
Yeah, it would just be wild. Like all the dreams coming true. And I think like such an honor as well, just to be able to have our names alongside those incredible athletes and British sportsmen, I think would just be like, I don't even know how to describe it, put it that way.
And obviously we are talking on the 1 year to go to the Olympic Games. Before that Olympic Games, the last major event will be here in the UK, will be in Sheffield, and that will be a European Championships. What a great way to send you guys off to the Olympics on a high, hopefully, to have that event here in Yorkshire.
Yeah, we are just so excited for that. And funny tidbit, I was a flower girl at the last European Championships in Sheffield. I don't even know what year that was, 2012 maybe. Yeah. So it's a full circle moment, and just something where we'll feel like so much heartwarming emotion and support. And also, we don't take lightly the fact that we represent Great Britain. It is a huge honor for us and a responsibility. So to be able to have that connection with the nation before we go out to Milan, I think is something that we're going to treasure forever. And also just the opportunity to have young skaters in the UK have direct exposure to these performances and to the sport, because we know what that's like to be inspired by older athletes who are really ingrained in the sport. And we want to give that gift to some young skaters to enter into this sport that we absolutely adore.
And Lewis, your final message to the people of the UK is to get their tickets, come to Sheffield, come and cheer you guys on. It would be terrific to win a medal in front of a home crowd just before the Olympic Games.
Yeah, 100%. We were lucky recently, a couple of years ago, to have the Grand Prix in Sheffield in the UK, and the audience were amazing, like so loud, so supportive of all the countries. And I think if you were to come along and watch figure skating for the first time, you will have the best experience, just the involvement with everyone in the crowd, and the best skating in Europe for sure.
We'll be sure to entertain, we promise.
Yes.
Well, you've entertained me this afternoon. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Look forward to watching you in Boston, and all the very best when you get to the States.
Thank you. It's always
much.
Great chatting with you. Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Lilah Fear and Lewis Gibson speaking to Michael. Some great stuff in there. They obviously enjoyed your questions, Michael. But what about what Lilah was saying? A flower girl in Sheffield. That's how she became an ice dancer when they last staged the European Championships. And Lewis watched the Olympics in Italy, of course, Torino in 2006.
Yeah, I mean, it's all set up, isn't it, for next year for them. It's set up for Lilah to be back in Sheffield. That's going to be the last major event before the Winter Olympic Games. So a medal there, home crowd. I know tickets are on sale at the moment through until the end of this month for people that want to go to every session of that European Figure Skating Championships. And then later in the year, we'll have more news on ticket announcements if you just want to go to some of the individual sessions. So I think it's set up for Lilah to have a brilliant sort of farewell, and then for Lewis to go to Italy, where he was inspired to take up the sport by watching it in Torino. Yeah, 1994, Lillehammer, of course, Torvill and Dean won their medal there. A lot of people forget that because we will talk about Sarajevo in 1984. So, we're 30 years on from Lillehammer and that medal. It's about time, isn't it, I think, that we saw another British pair, or at least a British figure skater, up there on the podium at the Winter Olympic Games. I love chatting to them. I know we've spoken to them a couple of times before. Yeah. We spoke to them ahead of Beijing as well, and the last Winter Olympics. But it was a really good chat. They're obviously not based in this country very much, so they were over here after that European medal. They appeared on Dancing on Ice, which is a terrific showcase. It's, again, one of those questions that when you speak to figure skaters, you kind of preface with that apology. I don't want to talk to you about Holly Willoughby, but I have to talk to you about Holly Willoughby. But
better than talking about Philip Schofield, to be fair.
I think Lilah and Lewis embrace it, and they understand that, in terms of that Saturday night showcase for their sport, they have a primetime TV show there on ITV where, whether it's Love Islanders or Towie people or Made in Chelsea or whoever, they are figure skating and millions of people are watching it. And the other thing that they've embraced is there will be obvious comparisons to Torvill and Dean. And, I think you could forgive them. I would forgive them if they did roll their eyes, as I said in that interview, at another person asking them about Torvill and Dean. But, they are taking what they can from the legacy of Torvill and Dean. They obviously, know each other as figure skating pairs generations apart. What else can they do, really? I think what would be fantastic, they got fourth in the World Championships. We've got that other World Championships coming up. If they could win that global medal, that could be the platform. If they could get an Olympic medal, I think that would be absolutely brilliant for them, because they are both such enduring, enthusiastic and positive personalities, and it would be great for the sport as well, which has been in the doldrums for too long, because it's brilliant.
And those World Championships are in Boston at the end of this month. Is my understanding. We bought ice skating tickets for the Olympics next year. So me and the wife and my son will be going. My wife Karen was like, if I'm going to the Winter Olympics, because we've never been to the Winter Olympics, but it's in Europe, we've got to go. We've got to make sure we go to this one. She was like, if I'm going to the Winter Olympics, I am not seeing ice skating, and I can't wait. As we've talked so many times on this podcast, it's Sarajevo. It's, as you say, Lillehammer '94 when Torvill and Dean came back, because they were allowed back because professional athletes were allowed to compete, and it was the most exciting Winter Olympics for a very long time from a British point of view. So really looking forward to that. We have mortgaged the house though for the tickets. Can I just point out?
Torvill and Dean were robbed in '94 with their
Definitely robbed.
Absolutely robbed, by the way. I'm still fuming for them. So hopefully Lilah and Lewis can correct that wrong when they get to Italy in 2026 next year.
Michael Weddock's Winter Wonders.
Still like that jingle.
AI is very useful.
News then from the world of winter sports. Charlotte Banks, congratulations to her fourth consecutive snowboard cross World Cup win. That has put her 85 points clear now at the top of the overall standings. Well done as well to Mia Brooks, currently leading the World Cup slopestyle rankings with a bronze in Calgary. That was her fourth consecutive podium. And it is very much that time of year when all the winter sports are coming to their big concluding events. We've already talked about the World Figure Skating Championships. Good luck. Best wishes to Andrew Musgrave and Joe Davis. Now, Joe's going to be a future guest on this podcast. We are going to catch up with Joe shortly, but he is currently competing in the Nordic World Ski Championships. That's the pinnacle of the World Cross Country season, which are taking place currently in Norway.
So as I mentioned, I've got my ice skating tickets. We've also got women's quarterfinals for ice hockey as well. So it's going to be a good weekend in Milan. We're just sticking with Milan. We ain't going anywhere near the slopes. But it is a year to go to Milano Cortina. And of course, the Paralympics, the Winter Paralympics. This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast.
Hello, my name is Jorge Gaviria, and I'm the founder of Macienda. We partner with farmers in Mexico to bring heirloom corn products to every kitchen. With my Spark Cash Plus card from Capital One, I earn unlimited 2% cash back on every purchase. And it has no preset spending limit, which means my purchasing power adapts to my business needs. My Spark card helps me fulfill my mission of bringing masa to the masses. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at CapitalOne.com/SparkCashPlus.
This is Anything But Footy. We're talking winter sports. We've covered the Winter Olympics, which are less than a year away, and the Winter Paralympics then, John. 1 year to go.
Yeah, another year countdown begins. March the 6th, 2026 is the date for your diary for the Winter Paralympics. Organisers have recently revealed their branding for the Games and the motto as well for Milano Cortina, described as a vibrant and inclusive new motto. It's your vibe. That is what you'll see branded everywhere if you're going to go, and some of the posters and stuff over the next 12 months or so. Places people at the heart of the Games. That's what they're saying. And I know you talked about that with Paris very much last summer as well. It also aims to celebrate the energy, passion and connection between every person associated, whether that's athletes, fans, volunteers and many more.
Now, the Milano Cortina 2026 Paralympic Winter Games will open in the Arena di Verona. Around 600 athletes will be competing. 79 different medal events across 6 sports. So you'll have para-alpine skiing, para-biathlon, para-cross-country skiing, para-ice hockey, para-snowboard, and wheelchair curling as well. And these games will mark the 50th anniversary of the first Paralympic Winter Games. It will also see the Games return to Italy for the second time in its history, 20 years after Torino in 2006.
Now, not everyone can say they've competed at an Olympics or Paralympics, but we had the pleasure of recently speaking to someone who is aiming to do quite the unique double. That's the Winter Paras for Team GB and the Commonwealth Games for Team Scotland. Callum Deboys is now part of the British cycling squad after competing in Nordic skiing at the Beijing 2022 Winter Paralympics, and Michael caught up with him.
So reflecting in Beijing, obviously in the UK, para-Nordic skiing's, I guess, not a big one. It's not a very well-known one. So for those of you that don't know, para-Nordic split into 2 disciplines, so cross-country and biathlon. Biathlon is skiing with the added element of shooting, and we need to hit 5 targets that are the size of a 5-pence piece from 10 metres away after skiing a 2-kilometre loop. So your heart rate's through the roof. You need to come in and settle down and try and shoot. Obviously that's taken me all across the world. Norway, Beijing, Canada, America. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity that I got. And the experience in Beijing was just unbelievable. The Chinese put on such an electrifying games within the COVID regulations, and it was unbelievable. The experience of a lifetime. Just hoping it wasn't a one-time thing. We can do it again at a different Paralympics and a different sport now.
Yeah, I know obviously paracycling is now your focus, but how much of a disappointment, if you like, was it that you then didn't get that opportunity to try and go again for Milano Cortina?
So obviously with losing our funding after Beijing, it was a real dampener on the games. I feel like we'd had such a good games as a team. I felt like we were up against it through injuries, COVID and everything kind of going into it. To get that after the Paralympics was almost a kick in the teeth. But again, the funding that UK Sport give us is amazing, and again just grateful to have that opportunity. But it would have been amazing to go and compete in Milan Cortina. Obviously it's a year away now, it's just round the corner. We still have an athlete competing, Scott Mina. He's hoping to qualify for the games and it's looking pretty good for him, so he's flying that flag for us still. But again, for myself, it's a really cool opportunity now to now represent Scotland at a Commonwealth Games in the future, hopefully.
And just final one on the Winter Paralympics. I remember sitting up through the night watching you guys on Channel 4. This time, of course, it's going to be in the right time zone. So what would be your message to sports fans, winter sports fans, ahead of the Winter Paralympics in Italy?
I think for the fans of winter sports, I think just tune in and get behind every British athlete that's going there, especially cross-country and biathlon. On the para side, get behind him, get behind Scotty. He's a great guy and got me into the sport and deserves all the medals and recognitions. So get on the biathlon. It's a good one to watch. It's an exciting race. Someone that's in the lead in the first lap can have a really bad shoot in the range and totally turn the race on its head. So it's a really good one to watch. It's a really fun one.
I want to cover a couple of other topics with you. Cooking. That's something. I mean, I heard from a lot of athletes. I was in Paris at the Summer Olympics last year. I heard a lot of athletes complaining about the food. Not when you're around, correct?
No, I get the kitchen in shape, yeah. From when I left school, I sort of fell into cooking. My mum used to be a chef, so it was a natural progression for me. I'd learnt all my trade from her. And then obviously when I lost my leg, I just seen that as an opportunity to get out the kitchens and just explore the world a little bit. And for me, that was sport. Again, it's not really the natural progression to go from being a chef to being an athlete, but here we are. We're changing that for sure.
Do you still like to get in amongst the pots and pans and throw some stuff together?
I still like to cook, yeah. It's nice to get in the kitchen sometimes after a long training day, get in and cook myself something nice and just have the ability to cook something that's a little bit nicer tasting, I guess, than most athletes just throwing some random ingredients in a pot and hope it works.
That was a conversation we had with Callum Deboys, aiming, as John said, to do that pretty unique double, to have skied at a Winter Paralympics, but then to have cycled for Team Scotland at a Commonwealth Games as well, aiming, of course, to be there in the Velodrome at Glasgow 2026. That is a pretty decent return, especially when you listen into that interview and you realise, of course, that we know all about the big funding situation in this country. We know how much lottery cash is poured into elite sport, but not everybody gets it.
No, and tough decisions have to be made. And he realised that he couldn't fund it himself, but always, as he said, loved being on his bike from being a kid and has taken the opportunity there. So fingers crossed for Scotland. Just a quick question, Michael, on the Winter Paralympics. I have now written the blog, by the way, for the new IOC president. That is on the website on anythingbutfooty.com. But should the new IOC president be looking at going the Winter Games? We know that they've now announced where they're going to be, the French Alps, Salt Lake City, and there's only a certain amount of cities that can actually host the Games moving forward. But actually, shouldn't they be looking at combining the Winter Paralympics with the Winter Olympics? Because what was it, 600 athletes from a Paralympic point of view?
I think it's a brilliant idea, a really, really good idea. I know that the conversation comes up, doesn't it, with the Summer Olympics and the Summer Paralympics every edition, and we talk about whether the calendar's right. Should the Paralympics go first? Does the Paralympics feel like an afterthought? Should they be combined? Whenever you speak to, say, Hannah Cockcroft, Sammy Kinghorn, David Weir, Johnny Peacock, they always say, no, leave it exactly how it is. But I do think that there is that opportunity to make a real winter festival of sport by combining the Olympics and Paralympics. I think it would be a great use of the venues, because you know and I know that with the Summer Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games, there is an awful lot of sport happening at any one time, probably too much to be across. There are quieter periods in both the Winter Olympics and the Winter Paralympics. So could you bring them together and create more of those medal moments, exciting moments by combining? I think it's something definitely worth looking at. And as soon as we get the new president of the IOC on a future edition of Great British Bosses, there's question number one, I think.
And don't forget as well, we talked about the Commonwealth Games in Scotland, that we will be building up to that. And we've done a number of podcasts with Glasgow 2026, looking ahead to the Games, which take place, of course, after the Winter Paralympics. So you have the Winter Olympics, the Winter Paralympics, and then we've got the Glasgow Commonwealth Games and the European Athletics Championships in Birmingham next year. So 2026 is going to be a big year.
Yeah, an excellent year. Let's check out some other news from the Games. Best wishes to diver Matty Lee, who's announced his retirement from competitive sport. Remember, he won that gold medal in the 10-metre synchro in Tokyo. All Tom Daley needed to win that gold medal was Matty Lee, and he got him, and they won the gold medal together.
Emile Caresse has withdrawn from the 2025 London Marathon, unfortunately. The British star, who finished third at last year's TCS London Marathon and fourth in the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. I remember interviewing him afterwards. It was so hot. It was so hot in Paris that day. He was absolutely knackered afterwards, but a brilliant performance. But unfortunately, he has suffered an ankle tendon issue, so he is out of the marathon next month.
I listened to that interview recently.
Did you?
Yeah, I did, because I put together if you're an insomniac or you've got a child that you really need to put something on in the background of an evening to try and get them off to sleep.
Or you're a big fan of John Cushing.
Or you're a big fan of John Cushing. There is now a 30-minute video available of audio, of reports, interviews and commentary from John Cushing's Paris 2024 Olympic Games, mixed up with photographs of him and Olympians and pictures of him holding microphones in various venues. And the Emile Carrès interview is part of that. It is 30 minutes that encapsulates your 15 sports that you covered. And it's on our website, anythingbutfooty.com. As I said, if you do have trouble sleeping, put it on and you will be out like a light. Now, the 1992 Olympic host Barcelona are going to be welcoming the start of the Tour de France next July. It's the third time the great race is starting in Spain. It will begin on July the 5th, 2026. It will have a bit of an Olympic feel, as the finish of the inaugural team time trial and the following day's stage will both take place in front of the Olympic Stadium. And we understand the Grand Départ in 2027 is going to be coming back to this country. And it looks like it will be Edinburgh and Scotland that will be hosting the start of the Tour de France in 2027. Now, this was a stated aim of UK Sport, who are the government agency who fund elite sport and are involved in bringing major sporting events to this country. When they released their details recently last year about some of the big events that they were chasing, the Tour de France getting it back after it was in Yorkshire back in 2014 was a stated aim. It looks as though that's going to happen.
Absolutely. And it's always convenient that it's up north so you can go and cover it as well. It's, very, very convenient. Don't forget, you can check out all our socials, anything but footy. We've got the European Indoor Championships in Apeldoorn in the Netherlands this week. We'll be keeping you up to date with that from Thursday. You can check out our latest blogs, including the Olympic President blog, which finally has come through. It is deadline month for the Olympics. They have to decide who is the new man or woman to lead them in the next 5 or 10 years. You can check out our blog on anythingbutfooty.com. We have the Spotify Olympics music playlist, which also will send you to sleep if you need to, a bit like my video that was excellently made by Michael. And can I just say, that is why I absolutely still love radio and audio only podcasts, that I get to tell stories with words, just words, and that's what I really enjoyed doing, those 15 Olympic sports. And I think I did okay. I think we passed the audition. So I'll always be indebted to Michael for coming up with the idea and also making that video, but also for TalkSport for allowing us that opportunity. So thank you to them both for that. And as we say, stay with us. We are the Olympic and Paralympic podcast. We are moving on to Milan and looking ahead to LA.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Oh, hello there, it's Tom.
And Tom.
Here from the Golf is Ruining My Life podcast.
If you love golf, but golf hates you, then you should probably drop in and have a listen, if I'm honest.
Yeah, you really should. Obviously, we're the go-to podcast for anyone suffering the ongoing torture that is the game of golf.
Right now, we're also living our golf dreams.
And I don't mean that golf dream about the talking rabbit with your nan's face who gave you that putt.
What?
That doesn't matter, nothing, move on.
So, anyway, we've teamed up with PGA Tour 2K25.
Yes, indeed. And, by the way, PGA Tour 2K25 is rated Peggy 3.
You need to get this game. PGA Tour 2K25 is available now. Out now for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S at major retailers and online, of course.